in this house, we honor carbs. Like, I didn't toast bread and have it with this meal, but I might. Beautiful toasted bread with like gorgeous rice and like roasted chicken. Are you freaking kidding me? Have all the rice, my friends. Enjoy it. Welcome back. Today is about coming back to simplicity. I think that winter food, by definition, tends to be a lot more formal than cooking in warmer climates. I feel like when it's summer, when it's spring, there's a kind of like a casualness and an informality that I think is very common. You know, if you're in the middle of the summer, you're usually like, yeah, I'll have some toasted bread and a roasted peach with olive oil on it, and it's gonna be delicious. And you know, you can pull that off in the summer. You can't do that in the winter. I mean, it's probably because you can't find a peach to save your life, but also because I think that with the lack of light and with the cold and with the everything, we, or at least I, tend to crave flavors that are a lot more like toasty and roasted and braised and, you know, full of fat and that kind of stuff. And this is where this dinner enters, because I literally made this like 4 days ago, and it wasn't in the schedule to shoot. It wasn't in my plans to make this recipe, but I found myself in the middle of a weekday with pretty much nothing in the fridge, very little in my pantry, and finding myself, unsurprisingly, unwilling to go out to shop. I was like in my fridge and I was like, what am I gonna do? Oh, well, I have a little bit of chicken, and then, you know, I scoured my pantry to check what I had. Turns out that I had rice that I probably bought approximately 5 centuries ago. I was like, cool, chicken and rice. Groundbreaking, new, incredible, never been done before. And it was really one of those amazing cooking moments where I made something that was so simple with ingredients that you can literally find in your local dep, in your local bodega, in your local tiendita, in your local Tesco's, like basically anywhere in the world that you are. By treating them the right way, you can put together a dinner that feels so special and so intentional, when in fact it was little to no effort, it was affordable, it's humble, and it's super doable. Like, I feel like that is the kind of energy that I want to bring into 2025. I want to make recipes that is with like attainable, normal, run-of-the-mill ingredients and make something remarkable with them. I think that's hot. I think that's cool. So, chicken and rice. Literally everyone and their mother has a way of making rice, of making chicken and rice. I mean, it's all over Latin America. Pretty much every culture in the world has a rice dish because it's so ubiquitous in the world. Everyone has like a family way of making rice. I have a very unscientific method, and it has never in my life failed me. I always end up with like rice the way I love eating it, but I know that everyone else has a different way of making it. And that's cool. That's okay. Anyway, what are we gonna start with? We're gonna start with our good old friend, the cast iron. Here is where we are going to sear our chicken. So I'm gonna start by getting this pan quite hot. What I want is essentially for the fats in the chicken's skin to render and to release. With about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, just to coat the bottom of the pan. And I'm gonna let this come up to temperature very slowly. And in the meantime, I'm gonna ask you to please give it up for our chicken. You can't see it, can you? Our chicken. While my pan is heating up, what I'm gonna do is seasoning it with enough salt. And actually, that's it, because I'm just gonna sear these babies. Anything else, I feel it would burn. So right now, it's just about getting some flavor in there, and then in the pan. There you go. I'm also gonna do a little bit of mise en place here. So once my chicken is seasoned and done, I'm also gonna cut up an onion. I really like how they caramelize and how they cook, and just eating like a frizzled onion that has enough bite to it, but that has developed a lot of its sugars, and you know, the flavors kind of like become a lot more complex, but the onion hasn't disappeared into the dish. Setting my onion aside, I'm also gonna finely chop some garlic. And I'm gonna leave it in a tiny dish with a little bit of olive oil so that it doesn't oxidize. These alliums are effectively going to flavor the final product. They have enough time to cook down in the oils and in the fat to develop the flavors, but to lose their bite. Just put enough olive oil so that all of the little pieces are coated. Like the olive oil works kind of like a hug to the garlic and it shields it from oxygen. Now my pan is sufficiently hot. Let's put these babies in. All I need here really is a pair of tongs just so that I can grab and flip. You want to be mindful with oil splatters for sure. Just make sure that you don't get your oil too hot. If you see it smoking out of control, get it away from the heat, let it rest for a bit. But you are looking for that sound. You are looking for that aggressive, searing sound. In essence here, what you're doing is once you have the chicken in the pan, you need to fight the urge to move it around. I always put a timer for 4 minutes. 4 minutes, where if I do anything with the chicken, all I'm gonna do is press it down with my tong because I want to create as much surface area as possible. If I try to move it, the skin is gonna rip because the skin's instinct is to stick to the pan. The first thing it does, right? And it's only until it's cooked well enough and seared that the skin separates from the pan by itself. But you need to allow time and constant contact. Now, also what you should be doing here, just tilting your pan a little bit. You're ensuring that the oil is getting everywhere and everyone is getting equal amounts of lubing up. And as you can see, as we're doing this, it's gonna seem like the amount of oil has increased. It's a lot more. It's the actual chicken fat that is being released into the pan. But look at that color, jeez. Woo! That's the tan that we wish we had in this winter with no sun. As my last chicken is finishing searing, I'm going to keep that chicken fat and I'm going to add my onions and I'm gonna let those sear as well. I'm gonna crank up the heat just a little bit and I'm gonna let these beautiful onions get brown and develop their flavor and caramelize. And then I'm gonna set everything aside. I'm gonna leave them to rest so that we can focus on the rice portion of the dish. Beautiful. So now that I have developed all of the flavor that I wanted to develop, they have beautiful color, they are shriveled, they have released their sugars, their flavors have intensified, they taste incredible because they cooked in chicken fat. You'll see that now there is way less fat in the pan because half of that fat carried over to the onions. That's fine, that's what we wanted. To this pan, I'm going to add a combination of butter and olive oil. And I'm gonna let that melt, and then I'm going to add tomato paste. So this recipe has quite a bit of tomato paste. I'm gonna let that tomato paste basically cook or like effectively fry in that fat until it changes color, until it again kind of like transforms, it darkens, it becomes deeply, deeply fragrant because we're letting the black pepper also toast. And to that, I am adding my rice. So the rice is going to effectively toast and fry. It's a combination of toasting and frying in this beautifully fatty, seasoned situation. It's going to develop its flavors again. Like, do you see a theme here? We're developing flavors all around. It's gonna become again deeply flavored because we're using basmati. So basmati is already a very fragrant rice, but like toasting it this way, it's going to intensify its aromas even further. And lastly, I am adding my garlic. So I'm adding my garlic last because I do not want it to burn, but I do want it to cook through and perfume and season this wonderful mixture that we have of chicken fat, butter, tomato paste, rice. Like we're building and building and building flavors. Only then are we adding water. So my method of cooking rice is I just put double the water of the amount of rice that I put in. So if I put half a cup of rice, which I am in this case, I am going to put a full cup of water. The only thing special that I'm doing, particularly for this recipe, is that I am putting half a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar to this mixture because I do want to have a little bit of acidity in this dish. It would be missing otherwise. But that's it. Like the combination of like developing all of those flavors and the tomato paste and toasting the rice, you do not need stock. Water and salt is more than sufficient to build a beautifully finished dish because we developed the flavors and we're using the fond from the chicken to cook the rice. That's where the one pot is like connecting all the dots, if you will. I'm gonna let it reduce for just a little bit so that the rice can absorb some of that water. My oven is preheated at 350. So I'm going to put my chicken pieces, skin side up, on top of this pan. I'm gonna put everything in the oven and everything is gonna cook together. The rice will continue cooking and plumping up and absorbing the water, but the chicken is also going to start releasing its drippings. So that is also going to contribute in the flavor of everything. Fantastic. Everything's on track. Chicken's in the oven, rice is in the oven, onions are in the oven, everything's in the oven. What I'm gonna do now, while everything is cooking, is I'm going to prepare some of the last ingredients that I'm going to incorporate into the rice. So the rice, as you saw, everything got incredibly toasty, everything got incredibly developed and salty and browned and golden. What I want to do now is gather some ingredients to incorporate to the rice after it's been cooked to kind of wake everything up. What I'm gonna do is, in a bowl, I'm going to add big leaves of herbs. If you only had, for example, like arugula, that would be amazing because arugula is like very peppery and mustardy. It has that same quality that will wake everything up in a dish. And I'm gonna dress them up in a little bit of vinegar, a little bit of lemon juice. I'm gonna add some chili flake. The crushed chili flake is going to pickle in the acid and it's gonna wake everything up. Some black pepper, and I'm going to mix everything up. I like to keep my feta in big chunks. I'm not a fan of like finely crumbling feta. You will never catch me buying pre-crumbled feta. I don't know what kind of person buys that product. If you have the option of buying a full block of feta and you deciding and controlling the, guys, my chicken is ready. It smells so good in here. Wow. I'm going to remove the chicken, let it rest a little bit. I'm also adding a little bit of fresh butter after I remove it from the oven, just to emulsify everything and to make it like extra rich. And in the meantime, I'm going to add my salad, if you will, like my pickled herby situation into the rice. I'm gonna mix everything up. And I'm finally serving rice with big chunks of feta and with the chicken on top. Taste your rice, okay? Season it, give it love. Does it need more salt? A little bit. You can add more vinegar. You can add more chili flake. The onions are tender. They are caramelized. They bring sweetness, but they also bring that wonderful like caramelized allium flavor that you can't buy. You just have to make. I think the feta is wonderful. I love that it doesn't melt. It just softens. It just brings that level of like creaminess and, you know, kind of lactic acid situation to tame all of the other guys down. If you're serving this for your friends, for a loved one, maybe have the rice and the chicken separate so that everyone can like serve themselves. I can tell the chicken is juicy, by the way. Well, good news for us all, you know. Honestly, ideal dinner. Like, I know that it's like, I mean, it's chicken and rice. This is delicious. It was quick to make. It was affordable. It tastes so complex and so delicious and so comforting. Just finishing with a little bit of flaky salt. I was thinking like, what do I serve this with? Like side of potatoes or like a salad or like a thing. And I was like, I don't need anything else. It's herbaceous enough. I know that it's not a salad, but like it has herbs. It has that like fresh flavor. It has carbs in the form of rice and it has protein. Like it's, to me, this is it. Truly, I don't need anything else. And like, full disclosure, it's not crispy. And I think that, you know, I heard this on a podcast. I think it was Alison Roman saying this. The myth of searing chicken skin and it becoming crispy. We need to stop saying that because it's not. It doesn't like, it might crisp up, But in the process of the chicken continuing to cook, in the process of the chicken letting out its steam, that skin is no longer gonna be crispy. It's gonna come in contact with moisture and it's gonna soften. And that's okay. Like, it doesn't need to be crispy. What we did goes way beyond crispiness. We developed flavor. We made the skin kind of a protective barrier so that when the chicken was cooking, the flesh doesn't overcook because it's protected by the skin. I think we need to relax with the crispiness. We don't do things so that they become crispy. We do things to develop flavors. Guys, thank you so much for being here. I truly hope that I showed you maybe an unexpected way to cook chicken and rice, one of the oldest, most universal recipes in the world. This isn't really from anywhere. I think that it borrows methods from everywhere in the world. The rice was kind of inspired by like Mexican rice because it has like tomato, but it's tomato paste, and like it's basmati rice, and like we're cooking it in chicken fat, and we're finishing with feta. Like there's a little bit of everything over here, and I think that's okay. I think that like we should have fun with the ingredients that we can find, so long as like we really respect what it is that we're cooking, developing everything that we have, and we are being patient enough to like sear the skin, to cook the onions in the chicken fat. There's a degree of like respect for each ingredient because nothing disappeared. Everything, like you can taste everything. I hope that you like it. I hope that you enjoy it. I hope that you make it. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.